Apostle Pam Burnett, happy birthday to you. Her birthday was last night. She spent it here with us at Mantle. You've been in the body of Christ, pioneering and pushing for a long time. You were a part of the Azusa conferences that went on in the 90s that blew up during that period, and the Lord sustained you, and you've been doing such powerful ministry. But you came with us recently to Israel the end of last year, and when we were there, the Lord began to show several of us conflicts that would begin to break out in Israel. We saw and prophesied the war that broke out while we were there. It was just a matter of weeks by the time we got back that what was prophesied happened. And you released one of those significant words. Can you tell us, and you may have more that you can share later, but can you tell us what the Lord showed you, and just speak prophetically on that?
Yeah, to begin with, I have an intense love for Israel. Out of all of the nations that I've been to, and I've been to many nations, I have an intense love for Israel because that's where everything began. Everything will culminate and end there also. So we're waiting for Jesus to split the eastern sky in a way that we don't quite understand, that it's not going to be the way you think. Okay, the rapture of the church is not going to be the way you think, the way you've been taught for years and years and years. All of these things are culminating in a higher form of knowledge. When we were there, we sat in a hotel lobby. There was a lot of us there, Apostle Melissa, Apostle Cynthia. There were a lot of us in that hotel lobby, and we began to talk about the fact that we saw war coming to Israel. I knew that they were going to hack the grid of the dome, which is their defense system, by some young people, and they were going to cross that road and attack. Okay, so we had talked about the wisdom of how to release this, and we didn't release it in its entirety, except Joshua Giles just blew it out the water. Apostle just blew it out the water that last night.
In the room, there were reporters, there were people there, so we felt to use the wisdom of God. You're right.
That's right.
We couldn't really release everything we saw because they were publishing it.
That's right, because they were publishing it, and they probably would have kept us, right? So we didn't do that. But we saw that war with great distinction. I saw the bombs and everything else. I was standing in front of one of the tourist sites, and literally I saw the building blow up in front of my eyes. Listen to me. Israel, as you see it now, will not be the same within 10 years. If you get an opportunity to go, and it's the safety of the Lord that God says, because the safest place on the planet is in the will of God. So if he tells you to go, go. But if he doesn't, don't go. Because there's always going to be confusion and drama in that area. You have butchers in office there. You have people that don't understand what is right or wrong. And you have people on both sides of the issue that are suffering great indignities. And what happens there is going to influence every single life that sits in this auditorium now. So I believe that God showed us that to stay the hand of it until a certain time, or there would have been far more casualties than there were in the nation of Israel. So I call all of you collectively to pray that the war ceases. It's not going to cease with the total undoing of Hamas. It's not going to happen that way. It's going to happen with their meeting some kind of peace accord, but it's going to be not a permanent peace. So when you see these disruptions, watch for Syria, Iran, Iraq, Turkey, and China, and Vladimir Putin to raise their heads, because they want World War III. But World War III will not be on the ground with boots on the ground. World War III is taking place in cyberspace. If you don't realize, you've got to come up to another place. I think that everybody has been saying it this morning. We go in the menial task areas where we're fighting demonic presences, when we should be dwelling where angels dwell. My apostle taught me that you take gamma ray technology in your mind. You start thinking on gamma level so that you don't have to be on this basal level where demons are undoing things, but you walk where angels walk. And when you can walk in that kind of corridor, you can see the wars before they happen. A wise man sees the danger and hides himself from it. This is that time to be able to alert the body. You have to raise you up. You have to come out of menial things. You have to come out of whether somebody made you shout or not in church. You have to come out of that place where you have to feel some tickling inside of you to know that God is speaking. Most of the time when God is present, I'm in a place that's like an encasement of a bubble. I'm not sitting in a place with goosebumps. He has to be so technically strong inside of you. And yes, you have to change the language to blend our language with that of the world so that our language goes out into all the world. Our sound must go out to all nations.